You mentioned the friend recession, and I
Yes.
feel like it was happening already, and then the pandemic made it way worse. And that's one of the reasons I started Playful Humans at the beginning of 2020 was um, it needs to be like we need to get out of the house. We need to stop having these virtual relationships and clicks and likes on Facebook. Like, why don't we go tell somebody we like their shirt or their vacation photos? Why would we click a button to do that for us? And for me, it's a big deal. Tell me about what you've uncovered in this friendship recession and why you think it's a big deal.
Yeah. The Bureau of Labor Studies in the US, they do a big time survey. So they have tens of thousands of participants, and they go out and they send all these different surveys, and they look at how much time they spend by themselves, how much time they spend with friends, how much time they spend working. Originally, it started as a way to gauge how much time people are working in certain roles. And then from there, they could go in and essentially monetize people's times, tell you how much a role should cost and things like that. But
Mhm.
one of the cool takeaways from this is that we get to see how much time people are spending by themselves and then how much time people are spending with friends. And statistically, both those things, they're inverse. So people are spending less time with friends year over year and more time alone. And what's even more interesting is like you can look at it at a week over week or a year over year thing, and you can see like people alone are spending like 40 more hours alone than they typically were, which is like one work week, which is interesting to think about. So these people are spending less time alone or less time together, more time alone. And then there are also, you'll probably see like the loneliness studies, like Cigna, they did a
Yeah.
really big
It's so
study.
dangerous for your health and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, really dangerous because health and life insurance companies want to learn about loneliness because it like, goes into the risk of insurance policies. And they did a huge study. Then American Perspective Survey did another big study. And then 2023, the US Surgeon General, the highest elected official for healthcare, he made social connection his priority of 2023. And he said that the
Nice.
Health Humane Society is going to dedicate like all of their efforts to trying to figure out a way that the United States as a whole can address social connection. So there's a lot of attention going towards it. Um, some of the things we know about loneliness, people are like, what is loneliness? Well, loneliness is a subjective feeling that you lack the social connections you need. And it's going to be different for everybody. That's why there's no silver bullet for a cure for loneliness. Like you and I may be extroverted, so we may have a higher need for social connection compared to somebody else. And then in loneliness, you have like the intimate loneliness, which is you are craving intimate, close, mutual bond, affection. This could be a romantic partner or a confidant. You got your social loneliness, which is like social support from friends or that companionship, and then collective loneliness. So you want to be a part of a network that shares a sense of interest or belonging. So all of this goes to show how much social connection we actually need. And it also explains why there may be someone who's in a happy marriage, yet they still feel lonely because they lack the friendship, or maybe they lack being a part of a bigger thing. So the more we look at it, the more like layered it becomes. And we recognize social connect or loneliness is no different than like thirst or hunger. It's just a message to our body that we need something. So
Yeah.
when you feel lonely, you need social connection. We can't really get rid of loneliness. We're always going to have moments where we feel it, but it's like, okay, well then how can we become more socially connected?
I think that was one of the big discoveries for me was that I can do these podcasts. I can have virtual interviews. I can be doing presentations in front of thousands of people all day long and
Yeah.
then still end the day lonely because really I'm in a room by myself all
Yeah.
day, and that there are those different levels of connections. And so sometimes I'll just feel like I need to get out of the house and do something with friends. Like I
Yeah.
need to see other people. And even if I'm having really deep, engaging conversations and stuff, I need to go like see a stranger. I need a smile. I need to know that I'm like not crazy, get out of my own head. And there's
Hmm.
other times where you need that like physical touch too. I just need like a hug.
Yeah.
I
Right.
need to see some people and shake some hands or engage in like real energy because I'm not filling that bucket. And I appreciate you sharing that, because I don't think people realize that. I think they think, well, I'm in a marriage and I have kids, so I have people all around. I'm not lonely. But
Yeah.
that there's different types of fulfillment that comes from different types of relationships.
Yeah, there is. And a lot of people equate loneliness with social isolation.
Mm,
There's relationships there. Like social isolation is a risk factor for loneliness. If people are constantly away from others, then there's a higher likelihood that they will feel feelings of loneliness. But these big studies that they go out and they look at all these people, there's like multiple points. So it'll be how how often do you feel lonely? And it'll be like never, sometimes, always, or like often, always, you know? And it's not concerning if people are like, sometimes I feel lonely. It's like, yeah, it's like sometimes you feel hungry, you know, like
yeah.
you're going to feel lonely. Like if you lose a loved one, you should feel lonely. That indicates that you had a connection there, right? Um, but it's concerning whenever people are like, I'm always lonely. Or there are some studies that pop up where people report that they don't have anyone that they trust. And that's like, okay, like that's not a good sign. But with social isolation, one of the interesting things that I've been reading about, which is kind of cool, is there's like solitude, which is voluntary social isolation. And
Mm.
being by yourself in moments is actually good for you because it allows for self-reflection, emotional clarity. And there are moments where being by yourself can actually help with loneliness because you get to understand kind of who you are and what you're going through and get a greater understanding of yourself. So then you can relate to others better because you know who you are. But then if you go to New York City, there's I don't know how many people, millions of people in New York City, right?
Yeah.
And everywhere, all around you, you could go to sleep and there's people to the left, above, behind, wherever, all around you. Yet you still feel incredibly lonely. So it's not the presence of people or the lack of people. And really, it's not even the number of friendships or how many times you see people. All of it kind of boils down to the quality, which is why you'll have the
Yeah.
people with two really great friends, maybe a romantic partner and a family, and they're happy, you know? And that's the goal, is to find where you're happy and then to go to your boundary to help others around you. Because we all have, like, with your podcast, you're getting all these people on, and like you have the battery to do that. You have the energy. So you would be remiss if you didn't go full capacity, while others around you, they don't have as big of a social battery. You know, they got other stuff going. So we're all, and hopefully we all contribute. So then none of us really feel as if we're left behind.
I love that way you're explaining it with the hunger analogy, because I think there is sometimes that, like, you won't starve if you just eat bread every day and drink water, but you will get malnourished at
Yeah.
some point, right? And you're
Right.
like,
Right.
oh,
Right. That's a good point.
I feel like a steak today, or I feel
Yeah.
like a pizza, or I just need some ice cream because I feel bad. And I think it's a really great analogy for relationships too. You're like, oh, I need something, I need a hefty, like, deep conversation here I need to connect with another soul, versus like, I need a whole bunch of candy. I just need to laugh, go out and have fun, and
Yeah.
not talk about anything serious. I've been
Right.
working on serious stuff all day. I need to go play and have some fun. And there are those different buckets.